You know what I'm going to say. Live from the Austin Convention Center, the Eye at the Potato Expo. The crowds are starting to come in. You can see that. And in just a little bit, at about 1 o'clock, we start at the Innovation Hub. And then don't forget, at 5 o'clock, we do the Spud Nation Throwdown. We have 3 famous Austin chefs competing. Simon Muljar from the Food Network is going to be the host this year. Hey, they retired me as host. They needed somebody who really knew what they were talking about, and he's also going to be doing some demos tomorrow. So make sure if you're here at the Potato Expo, come by the Innovation Center, come by Spud Nation Throwdown, and if you're viewing us from home, from your office, stay tuned, because we're also going to be broadcasting the Spud Nation Throwdown live again this year, and also taking some of your comments. So with me now, I've got 2 of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to ag, when it comes to potatoes. First up, Mark, who's the president and CEO of the United Potato Growers of America. Mark, always great to see you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. And Stephen, this is the first time you and I have met.
Yes, that's right.
Stephen Nicholson, vice president of RaboResearch and Robobank.
Rabo is right.
Rabo, okay. And I want to start with you. When I look at what you do, and all of agriculture comes to you for funding.
Yes.
I mean, that's the bottom line. They come to you, they say, I need money to grow my crops, to invest in technology. So what's the overarching trend that we're seeing that you look for as a good bet? It's not just somebody coming to you saying, I want to grow more potatoes.
Sure.
You're looking for different criteria.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing right now is do they have working capital that's available? And that's been a challenge as we've seen prices over the last 5 years go down.
And climate change affecting loss of crops and so on.
And loss of crops, we're looking to see how their working capital. Had they been able to either grow that? Is it diminished and there's none? So we certainly look at that. Debt load's important, but it's really, are they generating that working capital on a yearly basis that they can, stay in business for another year? So that's really the first place people look.
So I don't want to get into a lot on the Farm Bill, but certainly the Farm Bill, has crop insurance and so on. Are you happy with the result of the Farm Bill? Is that going to help farmers?
Well, I think, the Farm Bill is always a debate and always a controversy going through.
Debate, yep.
I think, I don't know that I would say that the bank is happy or unhappy with the Farm Bill. The fact is we still have crop insurance, which is extremely important to the producers.
Yep.
I think the other thing, looking at the thing from a row crop perspective, which is I focus most of my time on, is the fact that, the PLC and the ARC programs were made a little more flexible. And there was some more flexibility for producers. For example, they made that decision, they were locked in for the entire life of that last Farm Bill.
Right.
Now they can look at it year to year and make decisions. So I think, all this has added some flexibility, will be useful to farmers, but really when you get right down to it, the crop insurance is the most important thing for them when we go forward.
So Mark, give us the state of the industry of potatoes today. What's happened in the past year, what the future looks like, and what are you most excited about?
Absolutely, Phil. Happy to do that, and thanks again for having me back here. We just had a terrific business summit this morning, by the way, where we talked about some of the exact same things you're asking about. Stephen was kind enough to be one of the presenters there, and we just had a great lineup of speakers. I know you're interviewing the rest of them, so my thanks to you and all of them for putting this on. So, the current status of the potato market. So I talked about it a little bit in there. Let me talk about the kind of the segmentation of how we look at it in terms of 3 major varieties in the fresh world: yellows, reds, and russet potatoes. And in the yellow world, it's a really interesting dynamic right now. We see continued year-over-year growth, have now for the last 8 or 9 years, with an annual growth rate of about almost 10%, 9.3%, which is pretty incredible in the fresh.
And yellow is the largest sector?
No, yellow russet is the largest sector.
Got it,
correct.
okay.
But my point being, yellows are growing so significantly that they're now, 9 years ago they made up 4% of the fresh market, they now make up almost 11%, so significant growth there. And russets have actually trended slightly in the other direction, but more on that in a second. So anyway, we're seeing terrific growth in the yellow market, and along with that growth, however, is we've seen good and stable pricing, which is sometimes when you have a supply increase, so everybody knows supply and demand, that you can have a situation where prices can be a casualty of that. And in the yellow situation, they've been good and they've been stable, so we're very happy to see that. in the red category, which is also a little more minor category, but almost 16% of the market. And it's been fairly stable and also seeing good pricing, which is another good thing. On the russet side of the game, it's about 72, 73% of the market. It's really the rest of the fresh marketplace. And I'm happy to report, actually, for the last year and this year, prices have been good in the russet market. We've had 2 years of some consistency and some stability there that we haven't really seen in the 4 or 5 years prior to that, where prices had been under pressure. So we're very happy to see that. The outlook going forward is also positive. The rest of this year, there's some dynamics at play. I think you had probably Cedric up here and
yes.
talking about
You're talking about global and export.
Yeah. And it's a very challenging situation in Europe. Their crop is down significantly. Well, that's not great for them. It's certainly something we have to understand.
It's good for us. Yeah,
we have to understand.
Right.
I didn't want to say that to Cedric, but yeah.
Yes, exactly. But it is good for U.S. growers and to understand that the dynamics that are occurring in the marketplace, so that they can supply the right amount of potatoes and make the right strategic pricing decisions. So it's very good.
So also, let's talk about Mexico for a second, because I know that Mexico is a huge importer of fried potatoes.
Right.
And how is that going with everything that's going on with our discussions with Mexico?
Yeah, so very good question. It's an important export market for us. The second most important one behind Canada that we export all potatoes forms to. In the fresh potato world, we can import or export potatoes into Mexico within a 26-kilometer zone. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to open the rest of Mexico up to our fresh imports. Now, on the frozen side of things, what you asked about, we have access to all of Mexico, and that's been a tremendously good market. Sad to say, though, however, that there's been some retaliatory tariffs put in place on frozen French fries, and that has impacted the supply into Mexico a little bit. We're at a disadvantage to, for example, Canada, Australia, the European market, and they've taken advantage of it. So Mexico's imports from those other countries have risen, and exports from the U.S. have actually dropped because of that. But still a very important market, and we're hoping to get some relief on that tariff situation.
So now we're going to have a quiz. Okay? And Tony, our executive producer, gave me these things. Nice. So do you guys know what happened in 8000 BC in the potato world?
I have no idea. I'll leave it to the potato expert.
They grew the first potato in Peru.
Okay, well, the Andeans in the highest mountain plains domesticated wild potatoes, selecting for traits that let them survive the evening frost that killed other plants.
There you go. There you go.
So you get an extra mug.
Well, we're
going to take back your mug.
Okay, that's fine.
And Tony, thank you for these facts. And I'm going to be putting together all these facts throughout all of these. And one that's coming up, and you're going to want to stay tuned for this, is how potatoes went from a love drug to a miracle crop. You guys know that?
I don't know that one.
Don't do the answer. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Gentlemen, thank you so much for everything you do
Thank you, Phil.
for
so much.
all the potato world.
Excellent, thank you.
We'll be right back.